Well, it's time to play the mystery card game brought to you by GG Poker. We're going to black out Elton's holding here. He limped as he's done so often and manages to get himself to a flop in a four-way affair. 875 Rainbow.
Sponsor me.
2 overs in the gutter
All
for
year
Andy,
round
checking
closing.
to the
Free.
open-ender of Tan. Two-way straight draw, given that if the 9 were to show up, he's actually playing the 10 high straight.
Yeah, so it's actually a really good one because of that fact. Because sometimes your opponents are holding a 6. You hit that 9, you can really win a big pot.
Thing. I thought it's a patch.
It's part of like a big patch on a jacket.
No diamond on board. Andy's not interested to chase the 6.
Yeah, Ivy, let's go with bottom pair, given the 20K bet and call. And there is the aforementioned 9. Presto for Tan.
It's actually extra nice that he's holding the 10, not only because he's got the bigger straight, but he also blocks Jack 10 a bit, which would be the one hand you're worried about.
$35K.
He comes in smaller because he wants hands that might be a pair straight draw to stick around. Maybe some kind of 2-pair that might not want to call, like a pot-sized bet. But that is where things gets quite interesting.
Elton has made it 100,000. And I ask you, Randy, how often is this posture taken up by a naked 6?
A naked 6, I would say very rare, but it is possible for it to be 6 and backdoor hearts, but it's not in this case, given that Tan Chuan actually has the 6 of hearts in hand.
Could it be the dreaded 10 Jack that lurks?
It could be. It's hard to say, but he has a 10 in hand, so he blocks that. He clearly has to call. You kind of just have to hope for the best. 3 of hearts comes in.
Backdoor flush arrival adds additional issues to the 10-6, which is already wary of 10 Jack after calling the extra 65 and bringing the pot to 262,000.
Maybe Tan Chuan is contemplating toying with block here, because he could have big hearts in his hand. So if he leads, maybe Elton won't raise. Maybe he's tanking a bit to try to make it seem like he has hearts so that Elton just checks back. But he is going to come out betting.
$130,000 lead, Randy, and is this designed to shed another 6?
Well, he doesn't want to shed a 6, right?
So
given
what
that he's
is
got
this,
10-6.
You know, in terms of taking up this posture, what's the objective of the lead?
It's to get a crying call out of a naked 6, but also to prevent Elton from
checking
jamming
back
or jamming and putting him in a really tough spot.
So it's blocky?
It's blocky. It's very mergy. But the way Elton is stacking his chips, doesn't that look like a 1-tower slide?
It no longer looks like it. It is it. And now all of a sudden, you sort of regret having let out for 130, because look at the price being laid. Another 159,000 is all that's required for a shot at 681K.
Stop.
The way I see it is, if you come in leading here, you get jammed on, it should be with intentions to fold. The 6 of hearts, though, that's a trouble card because Elton's raise on a turn to jam now would be 6x of hearts. It's impossible.
Does it feel like Jack 10 of hearts?
Yes, Jack 10 of hearts makes a lot of sense. The other types of Jack 10, I actually don't think it would jam that often, just because when Tan Chuan leads, when the hearts come in, they would be value owning themselves quite a bit.
Yeah, I tend to think a Jack 10 that isn't a flush just flats in the face of this lead.
没有一对勾吧，我操！
I also don't think that Elton ever blasts like this with the naked 6, and I think that's precisely what Tan is thinking.
He shouldn't be. Is it possible? Of course, maybe a little bit if he thinks he can blow his opponent off of a hand.
15万。嗯。 白送啊，Elton！ 哎呀，
Calls.
Oh!
Wow, that is great value from just Jack 10, even though the hearts come in.
Wow.
Well, that gives you a sense as to just how tough these two guys are to play against. Not just the fact that Tan hung in there with the 10 high straight, but the fact that Elton pursued value with the Jack high straight in spite of the arrival of the hearts, which neither player had. Mystery hand time.
You didn't keep my money.
We'll slap the blinders on hands. Who opens to 10,000?
今天 lose is it?
Elton.
No, just lose to Elton.
8-4 of spades.
3 matches. Just all the small.
Massaging an extra 25 out of hands.
Actually, you didn't
82
lose.
in the middle.
You lose
9-8-7 with a couple of
just
spades.
lost
Pair and a
Elizabeth.
flush draw.
I know.
I think that's
There's
safe
no
to
more
say that's a
shareholder
great
for-
flop for Elton.
3 days you lose.
Quite
Especially
happy with his choice to
after-
3-bet pre now.
Yeah. Sneaky check.
You start 3 p.m. Yeah.
It is pretty tempting
No,
to
there's
bet
I
the
pump check.
turn.
Last night pump check. Make mistake.
It's hard for hands to have a better hand given the action so far. Then again, hands is one of those guys who can just wake up with check raising all of a sudden.
Take pieces of everybody.
35K. Given the second check in front of him. That which Elton settles on.
Elton's range, though, technically is quite capped to not bet the flop.
You know, and when that's the case, in particular, hands has done a lot of this. Check and big raise.
Having said that, though, Elton is aware, and having the spades is nice because he can still hit a pretty big hand.
On TV.
Perhaps a bit surprised to be in this situation, but nevertheless, invested. Elton puts in the extra 105, does not find improvements on the river as the board pairs. And let's see. Does feel like hands just has to be betting.
It's a little scary too, though, right? Because Elton could be sitting there with a big overpair, and if hands wants that to fold, it needs to go really meaty. The 7, though, is a little bit problematic in case he was trying to represent 2 pair. 9-8 got counterfeited by an overpair. Jack 10 he can still represent. 6-5. Flop set, which would be a boat. Still all reasonable hands. 250,000.
Quarter milli. If you want a showdown.
This doesn't feel good.
No, but Elton reconstructing things.
$250,000. It's a pair of eights.
Remember that hands opened. Elton chose to re-raise this one. On the 9-8-7 board, it went check-check. On the turn, it went check, big raise. That's how we arrived at a river where this $250,000 barrel leaves Elton with a shot at 600 plus, being laid well north of 2-1.
Yeah, this is going to take a lot of time, Banks, because this line is interesting and odd.
Are you allowed to ask his massage therapist whether or not any added tension is being detected? Or is that out of bounds?
I think that's out of bounds.
Use a knife. River chicken race. Sink.
He's tossing a ton of time, Banks.
Oh,
a
look,
little
and now he
smile.
gets a reaction from hands, and I wonder if he's going to make anything of that.
Maybe.
Could this be 10 jack?
Doesn't need to be just only 10 jack he loses to.
How many I use?
Could it be 9-9?
So many.
It could be. Could be 8-8, although he blocks that. Quad sevens. 8-7. 6-5. If it's not, though, it's like a 10x.
Yeah. The naked 10x definitely on his mind.
Spades. Queen jack.
Yeah, we blocked the spades is the problem, and it looks like he is going to fold. What did hands have?
Wow.
It was the naked 10. And I got to tell you,
This one.
Randy.
You don't want to see the ace.
Show. No. Let's show.
Was that the correct one? My hand? Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely a fold.
Other choice.
99.9% of the time it's a fold.
Ferdy getting creative from the button.
Free flop.
Hands staying interested. And we're going to block out
We learn.
Elton's cards here. We play the mystery game again. 39 in the middle. 8-8-7, 2 spades. How about the gut shot straight flush draw for Ferdy? Checked over to him. Hands has 2 overs. The gutter of his own.
Quite a nice flop for Ferdy.
Yeah.
No surprise he's betting 15,000. Should get looked up by hands on the flop. Elton now. In the straddle. Could have that 8.
See what he's got on his mind.
How about a raise to 50,000? That's Super Mario music?
Someone seems to be playing a mobile game. It did sound pretty 8-bit, if I'm being honest. Down to heads up. As Ferdy hangs in there.
Flush.
Finds it. On the turn, of course, when there's a pair on board, we do have possible issues. Elton. Now goes from check raising to 50 in a three-way pot to checking in a heads-up one.
That makes me feel much better about my flush here if I'm Ferdinand. Kind of want to charge to 8x. 8x has outs, whether it be 7 jack or side card. $75,000 is the price.
How much 8x does Elton have as played here?
I think he's got a lot. You know, he defended from the straddle, check raised the flop. Probably doesn't want to keep building the pot when the flush comes in, as well as the straight 10-9 got there. Oh, Elton grabbed more than 3 whites.
Wow.
Check raise min.
And min always feels as though it is begging to be called, and there's really no room for improvement other than the 5 of spades in the event that Ferdy's up against a boat. And I don't think he expects that just naked trip 8s would behave this way.
No, it shouldn't be naked trip 8s. They don't want to get blown off in case the flush wants to just go for it. Oh, this is pretty tough. And if my opponent is making a bluff, I don't think they're going to shut down if they're trying to do some kind of ace of spades play. He will make the call. Does have that for sure clean out 5 of spades.
Doesn't reveal itself. Talk to us, chat. What do you think Elton's got? Some speculating 9-10, although
I don't think it's 9-10.
not with the pair and spades on board. Some saying 9-6 off. 7s for 7s full.
Jam. I can guarantee you he's doing that, which he just does in Ferdinand.
Against Elton.
Against Elton.
This is a request for all of it. Some saying 7-8.
I
Must
can
be
see
under
it.
the hood.
Definitely can see that.
Ace-8 with the ace of spades. Also a submission. Not sure we'd be looking.
I don't think so based on turn action because you're not looking to get the chips in there. If it is, it's very low frequency.
The thing is, his queen really didn't change anything for Ferdy. So
You win,
he does check call, and it is the
Wow.
naked 8. Elton says you win.
So he turned it into a bluff.
Mm-hmm.
What a play.
Obviously was drawing live to a boat,
Lagati. Huh?
but unimproved.
Yeah, Ferdinand, why are you trying to bluff you?
I folded actually like this to
Why you call? You're flush.
to
How can you call?
Aaron.
You want to count this?
Oh, yeah, flush.
That was a big move. Very credible.
Very steep oopsie.